Hello and welcome back to the Andrew Eborn Show, where my very special guest is the fabulous Rainbow George. How are you, George?
I could be better health-wise, but in my head I'm fine. Got to go into hospital on Wednesday. Nothing serious, just a hernia thing. But I've got other things happening physically as well. But that doesn't matter. I'm looking forward. Hopefully I'm going to be there. I'm going to be staging my 80th birthday party on October 13th.
I know, it's coming up. It's come round really quickly. We've been talking about this all year. This is like the event of the year, isn't it?
Yes, well, hopefully you're going to be there to film the launch of the Wonder Party and other things. I really think it's going to be special, and maybe we'll get a few of our actors to audition the script that I'm still writing for
well done.
many auditions, but it's coming together very, very well, and I should finish it within the next few days, and once we've got the finished script, then we've got everything we need to play with, essentially. And it's a terrific story, and I'm sure it's a story that you can sell to the press, and telling the story of your involvement in making these 6 one-hour films.
Well, what I love about it as well is that we're getting lots of people talking about 6 1-hours. I think we've been on the show talking about it for much more than that, which is great. And we've had Jonathan Hansler came on, and he came on as Peter Cook as well, who with that great impersonation, and saw what a great role Peter would have been in the Spirit of Truth as well. And how much further have you got in terms of people on your hit list? Have anybody come back? I know we talked about Russell Brand.
Yeah, no. I've just been given his email address, so I'll contact him in the next day or so, and certainly invite him to my 80th birthday party too. It's all a bit dreamy, and I very recently arrived at the conclusion that, Captain Rainbow in my mind was always the most high God above the Bible's gods and lords who in my mind produce and direct the script that Captain Rainbow wrote for this diabolical mystery play that we're all unwittingly playing our parts in. And I've just, in the last week or so, I don't know why it didn't come into my head before, but I am made to sense that we are Captain Rainbow. we are the Most High God, who is like Humpty Dumpty. We're all pieces of Captain Rainbow, and we're all programmed to come back together at the end of it. And yeah, Captain Rainbow has a wicked sense of humour, and it all comes down to my favourite verse in the Bible, Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1. A good name is better than precious ointment, and death than the day of one's birth. And I say it is my favourite verse in the Bible, and I'm sure it's true. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to dying.
You often mention that in our conversations about your favourite verse. I mean, explain a bit more about. Obviously, on the face of it, we get it in terms of the words themselves, and reputation is key, and death is more important than life if they're turning on, because you're going on to the next chapter. What does it specifically mean to you?
Well, it's very comforting just to be told that we're better off dead than alive in this hellish state that we're in. If there is such a place as hell, we're in it, as far as I perceive, and I don't know. It's just it's Alexander Pope, the glory, jest, and riddle of the world. And, he starts off, know then thyself, presume not God to scan. The proper study of mankind is man. And he goes on to say, alike in ignorance is reason such, whether he thinks too little or too much. In endless error hurled the glory, jest, and riddle of the world, and he's the only pope that ever said anything worthwhile. But I just think he's spot on in that bit of writing, and Shakespeare's 33 words in the consonant, all the words are stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. Shakespeare didn't comprehend that those 33 words in the consonant were telling the Bible story of a play that spans 7 terrestrial ages, 5 of which the Bible shows are in the past. So we're living in the 6th act of the play, and I'm made to suppose very close to the end of the 6th act, which is the apocalypse, which is the collapse of the establishment, essentially. And I sense that we're very close to that, and again, Ecclesiastes is the most informative book in the Bible. It's the 21st book. It's got 12 chapters in it. It's supposedly King Solomon speaking from beyond the grave, and there's some wonderful things in Ecclesiastes, and it tells us there's a time and a season for everything, and one of the lines he uses, he says, a time for embracing and a time to refrain from embracing. Well, that's clearly the time we're living in, and it's very mystical. It's very mystical, Ecclesiastes. The first 6 chapters and the first verse of the 7th chapter has everything that's relevant in it, and is telling us that effectively, as I say, everything has its time and season, and I'm just sure that is true. That is what the Bible, the numerology of the Bible, will be shown to prove. It'll all be set in motion, hopefully, on my 80th birthday.
Right. Well, we're absolutely. I mean, we've been on the show several times. We've talked about this in depth. And so tell me, I mean, your conversations which you used to have with Peter Cook, did you touch on these subjects with him?
Oh, of course.
And what were his views?
them on board. He sensed that I had something worth saying, I think, and
did he share your views, George?
No, but I think he liked what I used to talk about, Captain Rainbow, and the humour side of it. I don't know.
To that sort of side. So he liked. I mean, obviously it's a common theme in the conversations. But was Peter a man of faith? Would you say he had faith?
I'm sure he believed in that there was something out there. I don't think he believed in Jesus as such, but I think he liked what I used to say to him.
Oh no, I think it's what you have to say. It's always important, as I say, to give a platform for many different views.
I was the minister for confusion.
Yes, well, I think he liked the title, didn't he?
Yeah.
And last time you said you wanted to correct what you actually called Peter. What did you call Peter?
Peter, I used to call he became the wizard, and his party was the what party? So to me, he was the wizard of what.
The Wizard of what? Wow, WOW. It's always good. We always used to say that of Ali Bongo, the magician and very good friend. Whose real name, you probably know this, George, his real name was William Oliver Wallace. So he was also WOW, WOW.
Yeah, well, it all links with the World of Wonders.
World of Wonders, absolutely. So that's so Peter himself, he liked the concept, but you're saying in terms of faith himself, he didn't necessarily believe.
For me personally, I mean, there was a time when Peter genuinely thought that I was a prophet and could see the future.
Okay.
Because something had happened and I'd prophesied something pretty amazing and it came off. And,
what was that? What was that, George?
We were watching the World Snooker Final in 1985.
Right.
And Steve Davis was playing against the Irish player Dennis Taylor.
Yes.
In the final, and he'd come into the final day and lunch on the final day, and there was still quite a long way to go. And Peter came round and he said, what's going to happen? What's the result going to be? And I said to him, Dennis Taylor is going to win the match on the black ball in the final frame. And it will be the only time in the whole match that he will have been ahead. And that's exactly what happened.
Oh, very good.
And it blew Peter's mind. But from that point on, I hardly got anything right.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because as we say, if you put enough prophecies out there, some of them have got a hit, haven't they?
Yeah, but this wasn't a prophecy. He was just asking me what I thought was going to happen.
Right. Okay.
And that's what I said, and that's
exactly what happened. But so what were some of the other things where you didn't get a hit? What were the other things you suggested might happen in the future?
Well, I was always thinking that we were going to get some breakthrough at an election or whatever, and of course nothing ever really happened in the elections that I took part in, other maybe than the ones that I had in Belfast, and which such a shame that nobody filmed. There was one election there where I was a candidate in all four Belfast constituencies, north, east, south, and west, and I made 4 speeches. The line account was in one place where each of the constituencies was declared. I made a different speech after each result came out, and yeah, Jerry Adams spoke in favour of me on it being filmed and what have you, and I did some really good stuff in Belfast and Northern Ireland, and
what would you classify as the really good stuff? If you were giving headlines, a sort of summary, what would be the stuff you did in Northern Ireland?
Well, the very fact that I was a candidate in 4 constituencies in one election, and they changed the law after I did that. And now you can only stand in one constituency. I had a dream of being in a general election and standing in every constituency, and which could have legally happened before I got involved doing what I was doing, and I was a candidate in I think 15 constituencies at one general election. I can't remember how many of them were in Northern Ireland.
Right. Well, looking back, I mean, talking about predictions, and obviously it's election fever at the moment, particularly in America, ready for the presidential election on November the 3rd. What would your predictions be for that?
I just can't believe that Trump can get in again, but he's not up against anything great himself. But I don't think it makes any difference either way. I don't see the president of the United States really having any power. I think once you get the job, you get told what you can do and what you can't do. I just don't believe that the presidents have the power that they appear to have. I mean, like Obama, when he came in, he was going to get rid of Guantanamo Bay. He never managed to do that. He wasn't allowed to do it. It's as I say, presidents don't have the power that people think they have. It's all a game.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and you also talk about everything's preordained anyway. But
everything except for the results of ball games, I've decided.
Oh, is that right? So ball games are not preordained. So football matches are okay.
Yeah, everything else. And I just imagine that our show here is the most watched show in the universe.
Well, it should be, George. You should absolutely. And people, the great thing about it, and the great thing about recordings, is that once they're done, you can look back at them over the years. So if I were to follow you, I mean, if I followed you from a very young George, many years ago, 79 plus years ago, 80th birthday coming up on the 13th of October.
Okay.
What would I see in terms of the highlights, if you like, lessons you have learned throughout those 80 years? What would they be?
everything is preordained except for the results of ball games.
Okay.
It's, I mean, Isaiah, in his first chapters, there's 66 chapters in the book of Isaiah, and there's 66 books in the Bible, 39 in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament, and theologians are agreed that the first 39 verses of Isaiah were written by one writer and the last 27 by different writers. So there's that sort of link to it. But in his first chapter, he says, "Come now and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool." So Isaiah is telling us that we're not responsible for our actions. We're all being remotely controlled to do whatever it is that we do. None of us know where our thoughts come from, but I am aware that my thoughts are being directed to me. So that's one of the insights. And Jeremiah says somewhere, "Oh Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man to direct his steps." We're being told that we are effectively being remotely controlled to do whatever it is we're doing. I'm just convinced that we are all unconscious spirit entities and all parts of Captain Rainbow.
All parts of Captain Rainbow. But so why do you think ball games managed to escape this predestination?
Because those that are tuned in to what's happening in this world, I think we are the most watched show. Life on Earth, life in this underworld is the most watched show in the universe, and they gamble on our ball games.
Oh, that's interesting. But is it only ball games though? So they wouldn't. What about the horses? Is that preordained?
Yeah.
So the horse races are preordained, but not football matches.
Ball games.
Okay.
Anything that involves playing with a ball is not.
So golf, football, rugby, hockey, all those sort of things. But anything else, running is not preordained. Running's preordained. So Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
That was all preordained. So, but why? I mean, it's the first time you've mentioned that. I know, we've spoken a lot. When did you get the revelation that ball games are not preordained?
Probably a few days ago.
Oh, okay. No, that's good. No, but it is interesting, George, because as you say, the one thing that you discussed with Peter Cook, one of the predictions that you got right, in amongst the others that didn't go quite the right way, one of the predictions you said was a ball game. So that's really interesting, because if everything else is preordained but ball games aren't, snooker's a ball game, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that really was a lucky guess, wasn't it?
It's just what was made to come into my head.
Ah, there you go. But it was. But do you see what I mean? Because
I do.
So that was preordained. It wasn't preordained, so it can't have been a prediction. So it had to have been a lucky guess.
It was a prophecy that came true.
Right. Okay.
It's I don't know. It's a really interesting time for me. It's just everything hangs on this 10-minute audition script. Once I've got it finished to my satisfaction, and I've written some really good stuff. It's just a question of piecing it all together to fit into 10 minutes.
Okay. No, well, I'm really looking forward to seeing the latest version of that. And in terms of your 80th birthday itself, how do you see it all panning out? I mean, obviously, there's a likelihood there's still going to be social distancing rules and things. What would be your ideal birthday party on the 80th?
On the 13th.
Yes, 80th birthday party. The 80th birthday party on the 13th of, as you said, of October.
There's going to be a band that's going to come together. We'll form for that one night only.
Okay.
At the venue. I don't know who's going to be in the band, but it will be the. We'll record a song there on the evening with the band. The We Are song. And the band will set the Wonder Party in motion, and the Wonder Party is going to be made up of British and Irish music bands,
okay,
collectively playing for a world of wonders. Every band will be its own Wonder Party band, and the bands and their supporters will change the world.
Okay, I always love that as a thought. And what about you? What for yourself? What in terms of, would you have a birthday cake as well? I sort of no birthday cake.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I'm really looking forward to it, and just after 35, 36 years of trying, just finally managing to set something great in motion.
Well, as you know, I always love the dialogue. I always like talking about it. It's always a joy to hear you talk so eloquently and passionately about things. I look forward to the next script. Let's hope that Russell Brand replies to the email. We'll get him on the show as well. And any other actors, we can get them, if they write into to us here, we'll get them auditioning for you. And as you say, we can follow the journey. We enjoy the journey, even if it is predestined.
Yeah, but you should be able to give a great exclusive to someone. You should be talking about what you find yourself involved in. It's a terrific story.
No, it's always a brilliant guest and things like that. And the great thing is, George, we're doing it as we speak. It's preordained. It's predestiny. We are recording everything and putting it out there, which is great.
Will you film on the night?
Well, let's have a look at the venue. Let's certainly have that conversation. 13th of October, which I understand is a Tuesday, I think.
It is.
No, Tuesday. I suppose I can tell you what.
The numerology of it makes it a 9-day.
Talk to me about that. So it's the 13th of the 10th, 2020.
Yeah, but the numbers add up to 9.
1, 3, 4.
1, 3, 1, 2, 2.
Okay, very good.
And to me, everything is numbered. The source of every number is either 1, 2, or 3. And so a 9-day, the source of that day is 3. It goes like 3, 6, 9, 2, 5, 8, 1, 4, 7. There are 3 lines of numbers, and we're all, the source of all of us is determined by our birth date. It either makes us a 1, a 2, or a 3. What does yours add up to?
Well, mine is a 7 and a 7 every year, so it's the 7th of July. 7,
7, and age?
63.
53?
I know, 53. I know. On some days I feel like it. It's actually 63. So that's 9 in itself, and then 14. The 7 and the 7, 14 plus 9 is 23.
That's 5. So your source is 2.
Is that okay? Is it good to be a 2?
It's good to be whatever you are.
Okay. What do the different numbers mean? So what does a 2 mean as opposed to a 3?
Well, I link it to the tarot cards and the 22 cards in the major arcana, and it starts off with 0, the 4, who in my mind is Captain Rainbow. The number 1 is the magician, which I link to Adam in the Bible, and the number 2 is the high. Your number is the high priestess, which I link to Eve in the Bible, and the number 3 is the Empress, who I link to the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And as I say, the source of every number is 1, 2, or 3.
Okay. So there's going to be the world must be, on the law of averages, divided into those thirds. So basically, if I'm Eve, what sort of characteristics would that mean? How does it manifest itself? How does being a number 2 basically establish itself?
As I say, just linked to one's birthday.
Oh right. Oh no. I get that it's there in the numbers. It's 1, 2, or 3. But what sort of characteristics would somebody who's a number 2 have, as opposed to a number? You've got Adam, you've got Eve, and you've got the serpent. Do you take on those characteristics?
The serpent is the messenger of the gods. In Genesis is first chapter. The world created in chapter 1 in Genesis is a different world to the world created in chapter 2. Chapter 1 is in Hebrew it's the Elohim, which translates not as God but gods. And chapter 2 is the world of the Garden of Eden world of the Lord gods, who as I say, I linked it to Eve, and the Garden of Eden world is a very different world to the word that was supposedly created in the first chapter, which was clearly a pagan word. And it's quite simple. It's quite simple to show what's going on.
Okay. Well, look, be interesting. I'm still not entirely sure what the difference between Adam, Eve, and the serpent would be in this context. And does it?
Well, I say it's God, the Lord God, and the Lord. And as I say, God has a word in the first chapter. The Lord God has a different word in the second chapter, and you have to wait till you come to chapter 9 to see the part that the Lord is playing. And the Lord is both the hero and the villain of the whole story. And as I say, starts off by playing the part of the serpent who's sent by the gods to the Lord God's Garden of Eden to enlighten Adam and Eve about themselves and what they're doing there, and the Lord Yahweh Jehovah is, as I say, the hero and the villain, both hero and villain of the whole story. There's nice quote. I'm trying to think where it comes from. What was the quote, John? Talks about him, the Lord making peace and creating evil, and lays out that he's on both sides essentially, and it's very mystical, but it will all has to be simply explained in this 10-minute script that I
Okay, well, good. That's a lot to get into 10 minutes, George, and I look forward to hearing the revised version. And finally, then, just for the birthday, have you got a birthday wish? And obviously, I presume it's to bring everything together. It's preordained that will happen anyway.
My wish is that. My wish is that I'll be there to see it happen.
Fantastic. Together with the bands, we're going to. So the idea is there'll be some bands. There may or may not be cake. You didn't sound like a fan of cake, but you'll have that. Have you got a venue where you'd like the party to happen?
Yeah, it's going to be happening at the Map Studio Cafe in Camden, and it's a small venue. There's downstairs is like a coffee bar, and the music studios are there, and upstairs is a space where things are made to happen.
Well, I like making things happen. I think that's always a joy. We'll discuss things before then. Let me know when the script's ready. Let's see if Russell.
But I'm saying the story with you are involved in the production of 6 one-hour documentaries featuring the auditions of the 10-minute auditions of actors looking to play the part of the spirit of truth in a one-hour film in which the spirit of truth will fulfill the biblical prophecy that says he will guide you into all truth and show you things to come. So yeah, so I mean the 6 films. There'll be a winner from all six films, and those 6 winners will go into a 7th film, and the winner of the 7th film will get the part of playing the spirit of truth in the final one-hour film that will let him guide people into all truth and show them things to come.
So a massive role. So if people are interested, they should write here to the show. Guests at octopustv.com for the Spirit of Truth audition. We will get people on, and you'll be able to hear. George will hear you and help with that selection process. We've had Jonathan Hansler already on, and both as himself and also as Peter Cook. What did you think of his impression of Peter? Did it bring you back a few memories?
Yeah. I'm sure he's going to do something wonderful with the script that he'll be given shortly.
Oh, very good. Well, we'll bring him back when that script's there. But for now, George, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for letting me join you.
You're welcome anytime. Look forward to catching up again very, very soon.
All the best.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.
So, Rainbow George joining me again with a quick update on where we are with the Spirit of Truth and some fantastic revelations about Peter Cook and faith and snooker matches and predicting those, even though they're not preordained. Any and all of that, fascinating stuff as always. If you'd like to be involved, if you'd like to audition, if you'd like to come on the show, write to me at guests@octopustv.com. That's guests@octopustv.com. Don't forget to comment, don't forget to share, subscribe, follow, and stalk at Andrew Eborn at Octopus TV. But until then, thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.